Hey everyone, welcome back. Let's talk some Bitcoin, kind of massive news, right? Peter Schiff, one of the big, I guess you would say naysayers within Bitcoin, within cryptocurrency, recently spoke up about what would make him support Bitcoin. And I want to share with you guys this as well as another piece that we're going to dive into and what would be a very, very large sum of money if you would have invested into Bitcoin 14 years ago. So I'm going to couple these two narratives together and give you guys kind of my take on Bitcoin right here, right now, as we are having very impressive price action as Bitcoin looks to hit all-time highs, and it's very, very close, guys. So I'm going to share with you guys exactly what's going on. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys all subscribe down below. It's totally free to do so. It just helps us out here on YouTube and keeps you guys informed with what's going on every single day within cryptocurrency. So we're going to be talking about that as well as some other things. So this is going to be kind of a lot to take in. So make sure you guys all stick around to the end. And please remember to do your own research and due diligence, because everything within crypto is extremely volatile, and do not confuse this with financial advice. But as we look into the bubbles here, you can see exactly what's going on, because Bitcoin up 5.5%, absolutely insane. If we look at kind of the all-time high that we saw Bitcoin hit with 71,672, will we hit that level once more? Well, we're starting to look at more of a, I guess you would go about 5-6 months of consolidation where, you know, it has been volatile, it has been rough, it's been a little rocky, but Bitcoin, by all accounts, if we do get up October, we have been climbing pretty strong, up 10% over the last month, and that is no joke. When we talk about a $1 trillion asset such as Bitcoin, that is a very significant move, now sitting here at 1.3 trillion in market cap, all right? That's where I'm at on this, but I do want to talk to you a little bit more so about Peter Schiff and what it would take for him to be a proponent of crypto. Now, what he's saying is, this was in response to a tweet from Michael Saylor. We all know how he feels about Bitcoin. He's probably buying more Bitcoin as we're speaking, but that's how he talked about MicroStrategy's stock, praising Bitcoin's strategy and how that has outperformed other top stocks in the S&P 500. Now, he spoke a little bit about this in a sarcastic manner, maintaining his anti-Bitcoin stance. He also chose not to purchase any Bitcoin for winning, but the response started a discussion about how his motivations are and if he's interacting with pro-Bitcoin audiences, just kind of, you know, leeching followers and trying to piggyback off of the narrative and the hottest asset right now in all of finance, really, if you want to put it into that perspective. So this is something where we've seen where he talks about it, and he later clarified to a user saying, I don't own any. I would come out in favor of Bitcoin if my objective was engagement. In spite of what he says, it's clear that his ongoing criticisms have generated a lot of engagement. So that's kind of what's funny, and that's kind of my take on this is, if you don't like Bitcoin, then just don't like it. Why do you have to keep talking about it? So it's kind of very hit or miss in terms of, I think, how he even feels about it, because I think it's something where he's definitely probably kicking himself, and that's why we're going to get into that later piece where we talk about what you would own if you had bought Bitcoin 14 years ago, all right? But that's kind of where we look at it. Bitcoin right now, it has clearly recovered after getting below 60,000, where a lot of people were buying Bitcoin under 60,000. That's kind of where we were looking to rebound, and we have since done that. So now that's kind of where we look into it and what's actually happening. Well, we have the China stimulus as well as what's going on with the presidential election. Couple that with October softening of interest rates, and really put it quite frank, kind of what could happen in 2025. I look for it to be, for my own investment strategy, a 9-month window where we do get some run come out of this, where it looks to be all systems go, and cryptocurrency is looking to bounce back in a very strong way. Now, some of the things we need to talk about, Bitcoin's a little different because a lot of people don't, you know, swing trade Bitcoin. They kind of ride it, they hold it. If you're a hodler out there, that's fine, that's great. You know, it's something where I personally have a regret when I started working. I wish personally I put a percentage of my 401k into Bitcoin. And that's hindsight, obviously. I think a lot of people out there that are a lot older than me probably have the same feelings with some of the vehicles that they did get into. But Bitcoin has been the best performing asset of my lifetime, just to basically put it in perspective. And that's something where we look at the overall charts and kind of how Bitcoin has been in a ascending pattern for quite some time now. Yeah, despite all the volatility, that's where, you know, Bitcoin and Peter Schiff continue to remain at arm's length. However, I think that if we could really put him in a closed room and ask him to his face, I think that his stance probably would be changed a little bit outside of the social scene. And I think that's kind of what the big take-home message is. So, yes, we follow him on X. Yes, we talk about him a lot, and unfortunately, it's kind of what we have to do because it is something where it is noteworthy and valid, whatever he says about crypto. So for every hero, there's a villain, and in some form or fashion, villains are wrong. So I just want to shout out Peter Schiff and talk a little bit more so about what is happening. And I kind of want to take a shot right now, because we're going to talk into $1,000 being invested into Bitcoin 14 years ago, how much you would have. So this is kind of what I wanted to piggyback off of. And if Peter, if you're watching, make sure you're taking notes. But that's kind of where you look at the decision of buying Bitcoin. You would have an eye-popping gain of $600 million. Now, I've told my story with Bitcoin quite often and time again, and I'll tell it once more. I had like $300 in Bitcoin way back when, in the first 2 years of its inception. And I ended up not buying a pizza with it, but I ended up needing the money when I was in college, and I cashed it out because I didn't really know what it was. But I took a larger payout in Bitcoin, and the funny story about that was it was just a measly like 30 more, like it was like 25% more if you took your payout in Bitcoin. But at the time, it was just kind of in Bitcoin. You couldn't really use it. It had no utility. There was no really knowledge on how to store it. It was just very, very unknown, okay, at the time. And I guess maybe for others it was easier, but for me in my position that I was in, like I said, I was just, struggling college student like everyone else. You'd rather have a case of beer than 200 Bitcoin or whatever it is. So just kind of fun to talk about. And that's something where you look into kind of what's going on and how the price of Bitcoin continues to rise. Now, that's something where that $600 million that you would have had of buying crypto back at 10 cents a BTC, that's just absolutely insane to even just think about. I get a headache and start getting a little dizzy and nauseated just even perceiving that. But it's also something where that's just all kind of in theory, right? It's kind of similar to my story, where if you did own, X amount of dollars in Bitcoin, depending where you were at in that time in your life, you may have needed the money, you may have taken profits. It'd be very hard to see a couple $100 turn into tens of thousands of dollars and not be tempted to withdraw it based on fear. So you really had to kind of understand Bitcoin and what they were doing, A, or B, you had to forget that you had it, and then you just stumbled upon it one day. So we all know those stories where people lose their wallets and their seed phrases and all that stuff, and that does still happen, but that's kind of a underspoken about thing in the crypto that I think that needs to be estimated or calculated, is how much crypto actually out there is just like hanging in the balance and inaccessible. I think that doesn't really go and isn't really talked about enough, because that does kind of impact the tokenomics, if you will, about what's actually out there and available, and what's actually being traded. And you have these like zombie wallets basically that you can't touch it. It's locked up, and it's basically worthless. Okay. So it's not actually people holding is what I'm getting at. It's just kind of worthless. But that's kind of where we're at. You could simply, get a reward of 50 Bitcoin if you were an early adopter mining the crypto. And there are stories about people that have done that, and they're multi-millionaires. But it's a different time period right now. It's more mainstream, and it's not something where it's an unknown. It is a known. It is the best performing asset of my lifetime, and unfortunately, I think for most that did miss the boat, it's probably going to remain to be the best performing asset of our lifetimes. So something just to put in perspective. Obviously, it's not going to be something we can handle or do right now, or make any changes in what the past took place in the past. But this is something where a lot of people, even later on, I think are kicking themselves because myself personally, not even just Bitcoin, but Ethereum was trading hands at like $400 not too long ago. And I was telling somebody, I was like, this is just absolutely insane. And that now we have Ethereum almost at $3,000. So, very easy to make multiples if you buy at the right time. And usually that's when all eyes are off and everybody's talking about the opposite. And when you start having those conversations where, oh, something's dead, or, why would you buy that? It's down. Like, that's kind of when the smart people are buying. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope you enjoyed this piece. If you did, please consider subscribing down below. We do talk crypto every day on this channel. We will have videos out covering all your favorite cryptos on a daily basis. So hopefully we see you guys back on the channel. Appreciate you all, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.